Thank you, Miss Carton, for introducing me to the audience. I'm also very thankful to inviting me to this very outstanding and well-known and renowned conference. So this is a very good opportunity to share my basic approach and to peace and conflict studies. So as Ms. Katun introduced about myself, I studied peace and conflict studies for quite some time. And while mostly I have been adopting the West-developed approach to peace and conflict studies, but because of my origin, I'm originally from Japan, and I was born. I was bred in the maybe Buddhist tradition. Also, I'm now exposed to Christianity and also other religions, and Islam and Hinduism. And so now I'm now more serious than before to pursue the Asian approach to peace and conflict study. So I would like to share my own idea that have been developing for the past few years. So first of all, can I share my PowerPoint now? Just let's see, I can do that. Now it's disabled, so I think someone can allow me to share my PowerPoint slide, right? Still it's disabled. Then I think the host needs to allow me, enable me to share the PowerPoint slide. Ms. Cartoon, can you help me? So I want to use my PowerPoint slide. So the title of my presentation today is the coexistence in differences, coexistence in differences, and a Buddhist approach to incompatibility management. And for the past few years, I have been particularly interested in this aspect of peace and conflict studies, incompatibility management. Incompatibility means the incompatible goals or positions of the parties to conflict. Parties basically have certain agenda, certain goals, certain position. Then the disposition and agenda goals are kind of blocked, right? And they cannot be achieved because of the other positions and the goals and the agenda of other parties. And so this incompatibility between positions or goals, this is the core of the conflict. So my interest lies in how to address this incompatibility. So I want to just explore this topic before I apply the Buddhist idea, Buddhist concept to incompatibility management. Okay, so there has been two approaches in incompatibility management. So far, this is very simple. The one is a Western approach to incompatibility management. The next one is the Eastern approach to incompatibility management. So okay, just follow the very common sense distinction between West and East. Okay, so the first I want to explain the Western approach, and that I have learned in the Western centers of peace and conflict studies. My alma mater for PhD is the University of Bradford. University of Bradford is very, very famous peace research center. But anyway, so the Western approach basically is the integration of positions, integration of incompatible positions, how to integrate the seemingly clashing positions of the parties. This is a basic Western approach. So this one, turning the clashing positions into new ones that are mutually compatible. Okay, so I will just show in the diagram, for example, just a moment. Okay, so party A with a position A, certain goals, right? Party A. Then party B, and the party B a certain position B1. These positions are in clash like that. So this is a conflict already. Conflict. This is the basic basic definition of conflict. So usually, so these two parties to fight each other to achieve, and it's their own position at the cost of other party, right? So this is what is happening all over the world, basically. So rather than fighting over the clashing position, Western approach encourage the parties to go beneath each position. What lies beneath this position is interest. According to peace and conflict studies, distinction between positions on the surface and interest underneath. This is very, very important in Western approach. Position is on the surface, and by definition, it tends to clash with each other. But the interest is what lies beneath. Like the here I also put the basic human needs, and this is another concept. But basically, this is the interest. So the identity of certain groups or people, and the recognition of the minority groups, and security, survival. These are interests or basic human needs. The parties to conflict basically wants pursuing these things, and then to achieve these identity, recognition, security, survival, and each party is pick up certain position. Yeah. So this is an understanding of the Western approach. So with this understanding of the underlying interest, then what the party is expected to do is the going back to the position, and then party A supposed to adjust the position from position A1 then position A2, understanding the underlying interests, and then the party A kind of expected to adjust the positions, and the party A also expected to do the same thing, and as a result, two positions will not clash anymore. But at the same time, with this new position, still this position can, pursuing this position can achieve the underlying interest, identity, recognition, security, survival. But these adjusted new positions no longer clash with each other. So this is basically roughly the Western approach. This is the integration of position. In the beginning, two positions are clashing with each other. Then after this process, and two positions no longer clash with each other. This is compatible. So this process is called integration of positions. So the two positions has been integrated by knowing underlying interest, or BHN, short form of basic human needs. So integration by universal principles. So the universal principle like interest or basic human needs, these are considered basic principles, and these principles are common to all humans, and also the organization of human beings. So this is Western approach, as I understand, and as I learned in Bradford. Then next one is a Eastern approach. That one can be characterized by coexistence of incompatible positions. Incompatible positions remain, but somehow these positions somehow manage to coexist. This sounds like a very contradiction in this sense, yeah? But Eastern approach seems to be aim to achieve this situation. The this is the Eastern approach aims to make sure that the incompatible positions do not lead to confrontation or physical clash, that is the armed conflict, right? Between the conflict parties, and why it is possible and how. So this is the same, the conflict situation like this. This is the same, party A with position A1, party B with position B1, and they are clashing. So what they, according to Eastern approach, so what those parties are supposed to do? Party A with position A1 still same, party B, position B1 same. Then what happens is like this. So the position, just both parties avoid their incompatible position from head-on clash, something like that. So this is called maneuvering around incompatibilities, maneuvering around. Yeah? So that no head-on clash may take place, maneuvering around. This is quite interesting phenomenon. From this in mind, and if we observe what is happening in conflict, and many conflicts are happening outside of US or Europe, right? Many in Asia or Africa. And actually, we can find a lot of the examples of maneuvering around incompatibilities, especially in my original area, field area of Southeast Asia. A lot of these examples can be identified. So in this case, after avoiding the head-on clash between the positions, so then the parties just wait for the incompatibility to change on their own. So that means that enough time will be taken, the long term and position, right? A long-term attitude. And the parties need not settle the conflict very quickly, just take time. And in the meantime, maybe the conflict may be sidelined or and just shelved and pursuing the something important one, like the economic cooperation and other things. So this is, I found the Eastern approach actually. So so after a long time, party A with position A2. So after quite some time, so the position party A's position may have changed into a position A2 and the party B into position B2. And this position no longer clash with each other after taking time. Yeah, so something like this. So this is the Eastern approach of the incompatible management. So this one, so before this situation achieved, the incompatible positions coexist for quite some time. So this is quite interesting aspect of Asian, what we can observe in conflict management, especially in Asian countries. Okay, so maybe oops. So I will look closer at the Eastern approach. So there are several ways in which incompatibilities do not trigger conflict behavior. That is head-on clash. There are several ways. And I will not go into detail. I will just put up something. So space for peaceful interaction. Party can create a space in which peaceful interaction are possible, like diplomatic works and diplomacy or meeting or negotiation space. Then second one is self-restraint. It's obvious. Then the third parties may have the strong influence on the parties. Then those third parties try to control the behavior. Yeah? Then there are certain nature or quality in the relationship of the parties that can absorb the tension and shocks. This is also quite interesting aspect actually. Then still the military deterrence may work, military deterrence, because something hard just to put between the parties, right? And the party cannot crash itself to the hard walls. So something like the military deterrence still can work. Anyway, these things. So when the above functions and the mechanisms operate, incompatibilities can be maneuvered around or set aside, and the parties may wait for their change. So this is the coexistence of incompatible position. So conflict parties may learn to live with their own incompatibilities, may live with their own incompatibility, live with a contradiction. This is very uncomfortable. But I feel Asians, I think the better handling such situation compared with the Westerners people. Yeah, but anyway, so this one, then so just a short revision, the Western approach versus the Eastern approach. The Western approach, integration of incompatible position. Then Eastern approach, coexistence of incompatible position. Then next one, understanding the Eastern approach. I should have right. And understand Eastern approach using the Buddhist concept. Actually, I should have right this title, and this is too short. Understanding the Eastern approach based on the Buddhist concept. I try to apply several concepts, and that originated from this one. The Kegon-kyo is a Japanese pronunciation because many Buddhist sutras are very, very well known and rooted in Japanese society. So Kegon-kyo. Its original name is maybe you understand. Avatamsaka Sutra. Avatamsaka Sutra. English translation is the flower garland. Flower garland sutra. So it's very, very colorful, right? A flower garland. Then like maybe big garland of flowers. Flower garland sutra. So this sutra has had a very strong influence on the development of Mahayana Buddhism. Japan included, Japan and China and Korea. Yeah, so I want to apply several concepts drawn from this flower garland sutra. So the first concept is the Shi-Hokkai. Shi-Hokkai, again, this is Japanese. So, which means 4 realms of existence. This becomes very philosophical, actually. 4 realms of existence according to this sutra. One is a Ji-Hokkai. Ji-Hokkai is the realm of phenomenon. Phenomenon is in our own daily perception, in our daily life. In the relationship, international relations, or domestic political situations, full of conflict and contradictions and fighting, all these things. This is what we usually experience, the realm of phenomenon, right? Then the second one is the Ri-Hokkai. Ri-Hokkai. Ri-Hokkai is the realm of principle, something abstract. What should, what so there's the idea, and always there's the idea compared with the reality. What should be the case? What should be done? And what should be, this and that, providing the idea. This is the realm of principle. Then the third one is the Riji Muge Hokkai. Riji Muge Hokkai. This is the realm of non-obstruction between principle and phenomena. Principle exists maybe higher up, and then phenomena taking place on the ground, right? So in this realm, so the principle and the phenomenon, they can harmony and the interaction between the principle and the reality, the harmony taking place. So this is Riji Muge Hokkai. Then the last one, Jiji Muge Hokkai. This is the realm of non-obstruction. Good interaction, peaceful interaction between phenomena and the phenomena, between objects and the object, and without using the higher principle. Yeah, so there are 4 types of 4 realms of existence, and many people say Japanese society is basically based on this last one, Jiji Muge Hokkai. Japanese society appear to lack in the overall principle or idea or whatever, but this one. So just things are there, and just there, and they look like almost chaotic. If you look at the Japanese city or town, there's no urban planning, no city planning. And just something, just a village or town or city can develop on its own, like an organic organization, and without any urban planning. But still somehow, and in the best case, so that they can create very nice living space. Yeah? So this one, I think this one reflects the Buddhist idea of Jiji, Muge, Hokkai. But anyway, maybe I need to just go quickly. So now I want to compare between the two realms, Riji Muge Hokkai versus Jiji Muge Hokkai. In Riji Muge Hokkai, this is and the existence of the principle and the phenomenon, right? This one. So in this realm, there is positive mutuality between universal principle and the individual objects. And then second, and the Jijimuge Hokkai, there is positive mutuality between individual objects. Individual object includes like us, yeah, or parties to conflict and everything and existing there. But somehow, and according to these realms, so something like this can take place. And now, so I already provided a certain concept, and another additional two concepts. This is sosoku and sonyu. This again Japanese pronunciation. Sosoku and sonyu. This is another additional two concepts. This is so the positive mutuality between objects in Jijimuge Hokkai. Now I'm focusing on Jijimuge Hokkai. Jijimuge, the last element, Jijimuge Hokkai. The positive mutuality between objects in Jijimuge Hokkai works in two ways. One is the sosoku. This one is the individual object like you and me, or other maybe certain human organization. Whatever. Anyway, individual objects exist side by side peacefully. This is almost like coexistence, and this one already stated in the Flower Garden Sutra. This is sosoku, peaceful coexistence side by side. Another one is sonyu. Sonyu is individual object penetrate into each other, peacefully penetrate each other, influence each other. One objective go inside the another objective, and this merge into each other. Individual object penetrate into each other, thereby possessing or reflecting the qualities of one another. According to the Buddhist Sutra, this can take place. Then I think this is the last concept I want to use. This is a bit difficult to pronounce. Daienkyochi. Daienkyochi. Again, Japanese word. This is wisdom, basic wisdom, Buddhist wisdom of an infinite and complete mirror. Usually mirror is compared to wisdom in Buddhism. Mirror can reflect everything, maybe. If the mirror is very big and infinite, that mirror can reflect everything that exists in this world, right? So such mirror is compared to wisdom. Yeah? So this mirror reflects the images, all objects in the world. This is called Daienkyochi. So applying this concept from the Flower Garden Sutra to incompatibility management. So sosoku and sonyu suggest that incompatible positions of conflicting parties can exist side by side as they are. They need not to change anything, and they can just coexist with each other, and no need to change between those existence and objects without causing clashes or tensions. So this sutra point out the possibility of these two things. Then the Daienkyochi, this is the supreme wisdom, Buddhist wisdom. Daienkyochi, like a mirror, provide the incompatible positions of the parties with the existential basis. So it's almost like I want to compare this one with the canvas, and the painter used the canvas, right? The clothes, and then to paint the picture, right, on the canvas. So I want to compare the Daienkyochi to canvas, and this is a very big canvas, an infinite canvas. So this canvas always exists like this wisdom, and Daienkyochi always exists like an infinite canvas. And this canvas, of course, sustains individual figures painted on it. Yeah? So the figures are painted on the canvas, right? And then this canvas sustains each figures painted on the canvas. So it, as it were, embraces individual objects on the canvas. And from behind them, this is important, from behind them, from behind. And usually we human beings are not aware of the existence of this canvas, because we don't make it the object or subject of discussion. We can see face to face, because that is always behind us, not in front of us. This is something different from God. God always exists in front of us, and then we can worship God, just God, and in front of God. But this one is not the object of worship or whatever, because this exists behind us, like the canvas that sustains the picture. Yeah. So this is something very interesting thing. So, but it is a matter of each object, like each of us, to getting aware of the existence of the canvas. So this one, I think, reflects a certain important fundamental teaching of Buddhism. Okay, so now, okay, first, and just I created the diagram to facilitate the understanding of the Western approach and the Eastern approach. Western approach can be interpreted according to Buddhist concept. Yeah? So Ji-Hokkai is like this, Ji-Hokkai, and our usual life, yeah? And our daily life, and our political life, and international relations, always conflict and fighting and disputes and big argument. So this is reflect our own mind, right? And because according to Buddhism, everything reflects our own mind, right? So this is Ji-Hokkai, like this, of course. And the ABC is positions of the parties to conflict. They are incompatible with each other and fighting amongst the incompatible positions. This is Ji-Hokkai. Then the Western approach. So Western approach introduced a certain overall principle. Then all these positions are kind of reorganized and under this principle. So these positions are subject to the rule of the principle. And then as a result, in the beginning, it's very chaotic, but now this is a kind of the law and order. And this one reflects the Western approach to incompatibility management. Of course, as I say, and the original A is now changed, slightly changed, right? And the position A is now changed, and the B changed, C also changed for the mutual adjustment, so that these two are no longer directly clash with each other, yeah? But something like this. Yeah, this is the Western approach. And this one is Riji Muge Hokkai, and Ri is the principle, and G is these things, phenomenon, and including the positions. Then the Eastern approach. So here in the beginning, it's the same. Yeah? So you usually perceive what's happening like this, right? Then Jijimuge Hokkai. This is a Jijimuge. So this is like a canvas. All these originally conflicting, originally incompatible positions are just put on the canvas. And then there's a lot of certain qualities on the canvas. Then because of this quality of canvas, and there is no longer clashing with each other. Although these positions may be still incompatible with each other, but this one can happen. So why this is happening? So I think this is quite interesting. I just feel another very important Buddhist concept, the love, right? Love, karuna, maha karuna. Maybe you have heard a great love for all existence, great compassion to all existence. I think that because of the function of this Mahakaruna, great love for all the existence. I think this one is working. I want to explore in my future research in this aspect how something like this possible. All these positions are actually incompatible with each other, but still can coexist. This is something amazing actually. And maybe it's quite illogical according to the Western rationality, but I'm quite interested in this aspect. Yeah? So anyway, so this is what I have been pursuing now for the past few years. I just wanted to share what I have been doing. Still, this is not completed on the way of in my research. So anyway, so conclusion. So the Western approach to incompatibility management requires overall principles or rules, and to which incompatible position would be subject. So this one reflects Riji, Muge, Hokkai. On the other hand, the Eastern approach to incompatibility management ensures that incompatible positions can coexist as they are, because of the existence of Daienkyoji, the mirror-like wisdom by Buddhism, right? So this is Jiji, Muge, Hokkai. And Buddhist concepts open up the new possibility to address incompatibility. So this is very, very different from what the Western Center of Peace and Conflict Research teaches and doing research on. And I would like to expand and this new area of research. Okay, thank you very much for your listening. That's all.